people that were in the two cars involved in this shit. So
a little closer than that, Vlad. He was a little closer.
Well, he was in the car with Tupac.
With not just by being in the car with the, but he was more involved than people think.
The story of Tupac and his tragic untimely passing has been a story that from the very beginning came with its baggage of conspiracy. From the private closed casket funeral to the almost 30-year unsolved mystery of who took the rapper's life. Now nearly 3 decades later, a search warrant and raid reopened the case. So what came from it? What does it have to do with Suge Knight? And what does this mean for the unsolved crime?
A new development in the death of Tupac Shakur and that murder that happened here in Las Vegas nearly 27 years ago.
I looked at him and I said, "Who shot you?" He looked at me and he was trying to get his breath together, and I thought I was going to actually get some cooperation. So he looked back at me and he said, "F you."
Tupacs Origins. Despite being known for his love of the West Coast, specifically California, Tupac Shakur was actually born in New York City in 1971. What's more, his birth name was actually Lassane Parish Crooks, quite a ways away from Tupac, don't you think? His parents actually changed his name to Tupac Amaru II, which was a name derived from a Peruvian revolution, believe it or not. His parents were big influencers in his life, even before he was born, as both of his parents were part of the Black Panther Party, and each had been charged and acquitted of various crimes over the years. Just as important, many of the people that Tupac knew were a part of the Black Liberation Army, a group fighting for equal rights for African Americans. So you could say he was raised to try and break the status quo of the world. Eventually, Tupac went on his first of many moves, the first of which was to Baltimore, Maryland. It was here that Tupac started to learn about music and poetry, and became quite enamored with it. He even took up acting while in high school there. When he started to put his talents towards rapping with his friends, he actually won a lot of awards and competitions. But what might be the most interesting thing is that despite his soon-to-be controversial nature, Tupac was well liked by just about everyone at his school. He was touted as being funny, kind, talented, and able to mix with all groups, including being good friends with the future wife of Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, who Tupac noted many times was his friend for life. Eventually, his family moved to Marin City, California, which is only a few miles away from San Francisco. He finished high school there and continued his love of both music and poetry, even writing once, "Our raps, not the sorry story raps everyone is so tired of. They're about what happens in the real world. Our goal is to have people relate to our raps, making it easier to see what really is happening out there. Even more important, what we may do to better our world, a foreshadowing of things to come." Tupacs Death. Just minutes past 11 p.m., Tupac Shakur and his associate Suge Knight found themselves briefly detained on the bustling Las Vegas Boulevard. Officers from the city's esteemed Metropolitan Police Department's bike patrol had pulled them over, citing the loud volume of their car stereo and the conspicuous absence of license plates as reasons for why they were stopped. An inspection of Knight's vehicle yielded the missing plates in the trunk, prompting the officers to release the pair without citation. Merely minutes later at 11:10 p.m., the duo found themselves at a standstill, caught at the red light at the crossroads of East Flamingo Road and Koval Lane. Here, under the neon lights of the Maxim Hotel, a vehicle carrying 2 women maneuvered to their left, engaging in a spirited conversation through the window of his, at the time, brand new 1996 BMW 750iL, also known as an E38 sedan. Shakur extended an invitation to the women to join them at the renowned Club 662. The tranquility of the night was shattered at 11:15 p.m. when a nondescript white Cadillac, the late model 4-door vehicle, eased up on Knight's right flank. A shadowy figure at the bank of the Cadillac rolled down the window, revealing a Glock 22. A barrage of bullets erupted from the Glock, mercilessly raining on Shakur's BMW. Shakur was struck by 4 bullets, 2 lodged in his chest, 1 in his arm, and another in his thigh. A bullet with a deadly trajectory penetrated Shakur's right lung. Meanwhile, Knight suffered from fragment injuries to his head. Despite a flat tire and his injuries, Knight managed to drive Shakur and himself a mile away to Las Vegas Boulevard and Harmon Avenue, once again stopped by the bike patrol. This time, the officers radioed for paramedics. Shortly after, emergency personnel arrived on the scene, and Knight and Shakur were whisked away to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, the start of a desperate battle for survival. At the hospital, Shakur was heavily sedated, was placed on life support machines, and was ultimately put under a medically induced coma. he would later succumb to his injuries. Is Tupac alive? If you know about the history of Tupac or his death, then you're well aware of the many conspiracy theories around his death and how they allegedly prove that he's alive. One of the popular theories is the theory of the sevens. What is that? Well, it's this odd theory that too many of the key details of the case have a connection to the number 7. For example, while he died on the 13th of September, he was actually shot on the 7th. What was his age when he died? 25. And 2 plus 5 equals 7. Then if you include the 7th and the 13th date, it was actually a week after he was shot that he died. 7 days. Plus, he was officially pronounced dead at 4:03 p.m. 4 plus 3 equals 7, right? And if you want to throw in another convenient match, Tupac's birthday was on the 16th. 1 plus 6 equals 7. There's also the prevalent story that he faked his death and used the media uproar to flee the country. But where would he fly to? Well, there's many theories about that as well. One of them comes from the son of the driver that Tupac had when he got shot, Suge Knight Jr. According to him, Tupac is alive and well in Malaysia, and even provided photo proof of him and Tupac hanging out in Malaysia. Another theory comes from one of Tupac's friends, a rapper named Treach, who was asked about where Tupac was and whether he was really gone. Treach answered without blinking an eye. Last time I saw him, he was in Cuba, man. Treach said this in 2010, almost 15 years after Tupac passed. The backbone of most conspiracy theories is that there's an inconsistency with what happened, such as a body not proved to truly be gone. After Tupac was officially declared dead, the very next day he was cremated. A service was held soon after, and Suge Knight, a close friend of Tupac who was there when his life was taken, paid $3 million to ensure that no one could see Tupac's ashes or be allowed in without an invitation. Now you could say that Suge Knight didn't want Tupac's funeral to be turned into a media or fan circus, but on the report for the cremation, the cremator listed Tupac as being taller and heavier than he actually was. Now you can forgive an inch or two of height, it's all relative, but the difference in weight was 53 pounds. Additionally, after the service, the cremator retired and has never been seen or heard from again. Suge Knight. So what does Suge Knight have to do with this? Suge Knight may be known to some as a mere footnote in the career of Tupac, Biggie Smalls, and others. Yet Knight, co-founder of Death Row Records, played a crucial role in gangsta rap's rise to commercial success. In 1995, Knight orchestrated Tupac Shakur's release from prison and signed him to his label. Shakur's All Eyes on Me became the label's crowning achievement. But in 1996, following a brawl in Las Vegas involving Knight, Shakur, and a gang member, Shakur was fatally shot. Knight later faced allegations of violence and intimidation in his business practices, spending several years in jail for assault and probation violations. His path, marked by peaks and valleys, ultimately led him to confrontations with the law and the loss of credibility, culminating in a significant downfall. And as we said earlier, he was not only there on the night Tupac was attacked, he was in the same vehicle and even found himself injured, collateral damage in the attack on Tupac. With him being a victim of the attack, you'd never imagine he'd be the one to coordinate said attack, right? I mean, if he did, why put yourself in danger? Why not go about it a different way, where you're not in harm's way? Much like this unsolved mystery, no one really knows. If he wasn't involved, why would he pay $3 million to ensure that no one could see Tupac's ashes or be allowed into the funeral without an invitation? You can't say that's not at least a little suspicious, though we may be just that much closer to finding out the truth. The update. The investigation into the murder of legendary rapper Tupac Shakur seems to be reinvigorated as Las Vegas police recently conducted a search at a house linked to the case. Las Vegas Metro PD detectives executed a search warrant at a residence in Henderson, Nevada, roughly 20 miles from the Las Vegas city limits. Though precise details are scant, it's confirmed that the search is a part of the ongoing investigation into Shakur's homicide. The house in question is located near Interstate 11 and Wagon Wheel Drive. However, no arrests have been made thus far. The police raid targeted a home owned by Paula Clemens, wife of Keith D. Keith D, the self-proclaimed uncle of the late Orlando Anderson, a longtime suspect in the shooting, has been linked to the case. Anderson was known to have been attacked by Tupac and his affiliates on the night of the murder. Clemens also previously owned a home in Compton, where a gun believed to be connected to the murder was found in the 1990s, further intensifying suspicions. The recent raid in Henderson, Nevada was justified by probable cause, suggesting there was potential evidence connected to Tupac's murder within the property, yet the police have not disclosed what they found, if anything at all, during the search. With that being said, those are the updates on what feels like a cold case that will remain frozen in time forever. What do you think about the recent raid and search warrant? Do you think it'll lead to anything? And do you think Suge Knight is involved at all? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure to leave a like, and as always, we'll see you in the next video. Take care.